Okay, so we're going to use the size 10 because they don't come in a bigger size. But we're also going to tie the golden stone, so that's okay. So this is a 3.5 mil slotted tungsten, okay, which is simple enough. Put it on. Now, I'm a big fan of not having my flies come apart, so we're going to tie it with super glue. I don't know if you've seen this one before. This one's actually put onto me by a friend. This is devil glue, which I got from Game. The nice thing is it actually has a brush applicator. It has a far better bottle than the Loctite one. You know the one I'm talking about? And it's $50. And it doesn't have the problem of the Loctite that it, it like all sticks on the neck. So yeah.
So you get it at Game?
At Game. Apparently, Pick n Pay, they make another brand which they sell to the ladies, which someone else bought at Pick n Pay. It's the same company, branded to put on false fingernails or whatever. It's got sparkly stuff on the label, and it looks pretty much the same, other than it's got girly like branding, not devil glue for a guy. Okay, but I think it's exactly the same thing. I can't imagine them making a cyanoacrylate that's anything other than standard. Okay, I like putting some wire on our flies, so I'm gonna jam some lead wire in behind the bead, and then I generally cover around about half the shank with the lead wire. Now you can put super glue on before or after, it doesn't really matter. Before is sometimes a good idea, but in this case, because it's jammed in behind, we should be good. So super glue on. I'm tying with Nano silk. In this case it happens to be black. That's because I'm using up the black. As I was saying earlier to someone, you pretty much tie with white. And ideally, learn to tie with your scissors in your hand. Who ties with their scissors in their hand? Almost no one. 2, 3, okay. So I spoke to a friend and said he's got to try this. And he was like, well, he put it in his head the first time. But he couldn't get the hang of it and said he's got to persist. And now he's the same. You kind of forget that it's there, right? Once you get used to it. And it feels wrong to tie without your scissors in your hand. And it saves you so much time because you're not picking up the scissors looking for the scissors. So scissors in your hand. Okay. Now, we're going to tie this with, in this case, medium brown variegated chenille. In this case, it's a hairline one. I have some hooked on fly tying speckled chenille. It's a slightly different color, more like a, I don't know if you can see it, like a greeny brown. Both of these are good colors to imitate your golden stone. And we're going to use some, well, you can use round rubber. I tend to prefer Spanflex, or in this case, these are SiliLegs. I like the barring on them. Okay, so we're going to double over a piece. Generally, one piece should be long enough to tie one fly. So it does tend to use a fair amount of material. Okay, so double over and tie the tail in. Now, rather tied in a little too long, and we're going to snug it up to the actual lead. But the fly itself is really quite simple. It's tied in the rounds, so there's no wing case and anything else on the fly. Okay, there we go. And we're going to use some of the chenille. So generally, a double card piece is what's kind of recommended. So this fly is actually, I taught a guy called Tim Flagler. Anyone know Tim Flagler? Tightline Productions. So you might have seen the fly. So Tim's brilliant. Okay, I mean, I just love the way he does his videos. So if you want to see how to tie this properly, just go watch Tim's video, right? That's where I learned it. But the idea is basically you strip off some of the core and you tie it in between the tails. And then you just tie that butt section down, or the actual core down, and you advance it to the bend of the hook. Now's where the fun part comes, because what you're actually going to do is you're going to actually hold those tails to the side of the chenille, hold it back a bit, and then you're going to actually effectively furl it. You're going to actually wrap it back on itself. Okay? So you're actually going to put this in between, pinch it, and then start making some actual, and I never get this right, some actual wraps. Okay? And you wrap it on itself. So can you see you're actually wrapping around, and then you actually let go, and it actually spins a little. Okay? But the idea is that you actually want, and it's just a bit fiddly, but you actually tie an extended body. So this is why I like the fly, because a lot of those stone flies are tied on size 6 3x long hooks. The problem I have with that is it's a really long hook and it's solid all the way through. So the fish has to eat the back of that and actually get that in its mouth, otherwise he's going to bump it and not get hooked. So I'd rather tie, and let's be honest, a size 10 or size 8 jig hook's going to hold pretty much anything you like to the hook on it. So I like to tie it on a shorter hook. In this case, the jig hook, so it swims upside down, and the actual extended body is soft, so it moves, and if a fish eats it, it actually bends. So you then wrap back towards the body, okay, and you've now got the tail. Can you see that? It's not too long. You can make it longer, and then you'll do a couple of wraps onto the body, okay? But the idea is that you've got an extended tail. So I'll just do one locking wrap here. Nano silk, you don't need to do 50 million wraps. That's one of the biggest problems for most guys. They do too many wraps. Okay, so we've got the tail. We advance it. Can you see I'm not actually bothering to advance the thread? Can you see I'm actually using the chenille to advance the thread? Why wrap the thread up when you can hold the chenille and wrap the thread up with the chenille? Makes sense, right? So we advance roundly about to the thorax section, and now I will do just 2 wraps in there just to trap it down. So I don't know if you can you see there's the tail. It's splayed. Okay, you can put it a little wider. It has movement. Okay, and now we're going to do the legs. So Tim is just a genius when it comes to tying in legs. So you've got a couple of ways to do this. You can actually tie it the way he does, which is a single tie-in with a loop in the front, tied in, positioned at each side. So you would actually tie this down, okay, and then you actually splay the legs each side. Can you see what I'm doing? So it's a single piece of rubber tied in. If you tie I'm going to cut the middle here. If I think the front leg is going to be a bit too short, I would actually just pull some of the rubber, or in this case the spandex, through. That way I can actually reposition the legs, right? So now I've got the legs. It doesn't matter how they really look right now. It's not too critical, because you actually are going to make sure that they're tied in though once they're splayed, because else they can come out. Now I'm just going to cut the middle one. So there I've got the 4 legs. I can now just position them a little. And now you'll tend to use the chenille to position them. So if this is if the one leg's getting pushed a bit forward, you can put it back. Chenille there. Seated in behind the bead. In tight. And we're good, I think. And then we just tie it off. Okay. Now, I'm borrowing Kenny's vice, but I'm not borrowing Kenny's whip finish tool. Yeah. Certain things you can borrow from a man, certain other things you can't. You've got to bring your own. So, whip finish, I would often just, well, let's do that too. I don't know if you guys I haven't used head cement in forever. I don't think I have any head cement anymore. Bit of super glue on the thread. You don't have to whip finish, you could just wrap it on. But I like super glue on the thread, and then I like to whip finish with super glue. Just be careful, because the actual super glue and the legs might not agree with each other. Okay? And you're good. And then I never cut nano, never cut your thread. This actually is more pertinent when it comes to dry flies, but take your scissors, open them, and just push them into the actual thread, and it cuts them. Oh, if your scissors are blunt, something I show some people, if your scissors are blunt, take a coffee cup, turn it upside down, the unglazed section, and just lightly stroke the blade of your scissor on the underside of the mug, on the unglazed section, okay, just along the edge. Literally like 3 or 4 strokes each one, and you'll be shocked. Your scissors will make sound again when you close them, and they'll cut a hell of a lot better. Okay, can you see the fly? Yep. Yeah. So generally the back legs are shank length, or body length, not shank length. In this case, maybe a little longer. Okay. So check them for size and position. All right, there we go. Front legs round about the same. It's not too critical. Okay. But you want a good splay on the legs. You want the legs to round about be equal length. And the tails, well, you can leave the tails a little longer, rather a little too long, and trim them later than too short. But really, that's the fly. Okay? A lot like the gun in the way that it has a lot of movement. Okay? In this case, I specifically do want it in the size that I've tied it. Okay? It has weight to get down, but it's not ridiculously heavy, so it's not a sinker. You'll fish it together with another fly. I spend a lot of time fishing it together with a size 22 midge. I don't know if you can see the midge. Can you see the midge? Yeah. So that's a size 22. I have 22s and 24s. Actually, that's a 20. Yeah, it's a 22, I think. So that's it. That's the fly. It is really simple. Okay. Tighten around. I don't see any reason to do anything else to the fly other than what I've done there. The color scheme is fine. If you tie, I mean, we don't have the big brown stonefly, so there's no reason to tie it bigger, okay, or in brown. I would think that the golden olive is probably the right color, with this color or pumpkin colored spanflex or sexy legs. Gold bead, this is a 10. I would probably tie it in 10s and 12s. And maybe if you want more weight, you can actually tie it with a formal on a 10 and a 3.5 on a 12. In this case, we tied it as a 3.5 on a 10. But really, that's the fly.
How do you attach your midge?
Oh, well, okay, so I'm still a competition style angler, so no truck and trailer nonsense, New Zealand rig. It's tied off a dropper, you know. But yeah, that behind, and I was generally using 6x Stroff, 6x Trout Hunter fluoro. Big fish is not going to break you unless you do something stupid. I don't think I had any problems breaking the tippet. I had more problems opening hooks on the really, really small flies. I don't think I'm trying to remember if I did lose one or two fish on the Eagle in high flows when the thing ate and ran straight into the bush because it was flooded. But I was going to lose it no matter what. So yeah, but the normal rig on a dropper, this up top, 1.5 foot behind the little midge. And I must say that before I actually turned over the rocks on the South Platte, you're like, these things are huge. I look at these things in my box and I tied the box up and I'm like, did I make the right decision? Then you know, but the guys all talk about it and fish it. And then you get there and when you look at the naturals, you're like, okay, well, yes, I should have tied them bigger. That was the only thought I had. But yeah, so that's the golden stone we tied there, and then this is the black version. But again, I don't think we need to tie these because we don't really have the darker stone flies. Any other questions?
Right.
Quick and simple.
Okay, so